Hello everyone, and welcome to Etalon. If you were a kid in the early 2000s, there's a fair chance that, like me, you were obsessed with Bratz, with the doll line's focus being on current fashion trends of the time, as well as dynamic and diverse characters. It became an instant hit globally. The line now serves as almost a time capsule to 2000s fashion. A line from Bratz that just encapsulates that 2000s aesthetic, now known as Y2K style, is the 2005 release of Bratz Live in Concert, or otherwise known as Space Angels. It truly has to be one of the most unique series that MGA has ever produced. Almost 20 years on, and ironically becoming a doll creator myself, I thought there would be nothing better than to team up with the incredible Moonlight Jewel to redesign some of the characters from this iconic line. Moonlight Jewel will be creating Dana, so make sure to check out that video if you haven't already. For my redesign, I'll be creating Jade. With that all being said, let's get started. So unfortunately, I couldn't find an actual secondhand Jade online, but I did find this one. Bratz dolls don't differ in their face molds. No matter the character, you always have the same face. So thankfully, this means I can easily just create a Jade from a doll with the same base skin. Time to prep. The first thing to do is to remove the head from its body, remove all of the hair and the factory paint with 100% acetone. I have to say, a blank Bratz doll's head is probably one of the most cursed things I think I've ever seen. Let's give this doll a new face immediately. Cleaning the head with warm soapy water and giving it a spray of Mr. Super Clear Matte Varnish, we can start to create the new face. The products I'll be using are my watercolour pencils, soft pastels, eyeshadows and paints from Scale 75 and Vallejo. This doll's face was a challenge. If you're not familiar with my other work, I typically stick to Monster High doll faces, leaning more into stylized realism, a style that I wasn't really sure would work with a Bratz head. Large eyes and large lips are a staple of the characteristics of a Bratz doll. So I guess, as they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Starting out the face, I'm immediately going in with a very large angular eye design and large lips. I want this face to have very striking makeup, so I'll be going in with blushing of the face before I even start creating more detail. As Jade's design is turquoise, I wanted to find colours that complemented that design in order to give breaks in that monochrome colour palette. For this, I actually looked on Pinterest for colour stories and found that bright, warm oranges and warm purples seem to pair just beautifully with a cool toned turquoise. To incorporate those colours into my face-up, I chose an orange shadow as the contour and blend colour, with vibrant warm purples as the main eyeshadow colour. Something both Moonlight Jewel and I are just loving at the moment is graphic eyeliner looks on our dolls, and so I had to incorporate it into my design. Using my broken toed brush and Vallejo grey acrylic paint, I'm going to start drawing on the eyeliner. Don't stress too much about getting your lines perfectly straight. Even I get the wiggle sometimes with my brushes. All you need is a tactical swipe of your nail over the wiggly area and it's all fixed. Originally for this project, I wanted to work on Sasha. Her design in the Live in Concert series is just one of my favourites of all time. As I said at the beginning, Bratz nowadays can be quite rare to come by, at least ones that are alright for customising. I wasn't particularly keen on the idea of customising my own Sasha dolls for this project, so I decided to just go with Jade. Did you have a favourite Bratz character? Mine was definitely a tie between Jade and Sasha, but my holy grail will always be Megan, who was my first ever doll of my own. One that wasn't a hand-me-down 90s Barbie from my cousins. Something I really wanted to incorporate in this redesign is the turquoise lipstick. To create it, I'm going to be using the Scalecolour Emerald Alchemy paint. I love the way that this paint just reflects light. It looks so amazing as a metallic lipstick. What I didn't like, however, was how one-dimensional it was looking. So to add some dimension into this lipstick, I'm going to be adding some black into the paint. That will be used to create some shadows and lip liner. Blending in that darker colour will be the original paint for a seamless finish. As a finishing step to the face, I'm going to be adding some shimmer powder to the skin. That once I have the finishing matte varnish applied, will give this face a beautiful glow. With that added, we can move on to creating the hair. Something I really wanted in this design was to have obnoxiously long hair, inspired of course by the amazing Ashniko. To get that long hair, I was able to buy these braiding wefts online. The wefts came pre-crimped, which is helpful in the braiding process, but I wanted my doll's hair to be pin straight. Getting my straightener and putting it on the lowest setting, no higher than 150 degrees, I'm going to just detangle and straighten the wefts. So because we'll be creating huge, thick, heavy pigtails, we have to have some support for this hairstyle. Grabbing my rerouting tool and loose black yarn, I'm going to be plunging the fibres into the vinyl, and we'll be using glue to hold it in place inside the head. Adding this acts as an anchor later on. The heavy duty wefts and glue will take the weight of the wefts later on, easing the tension of the scalp hair and the hair tie. This will also stop the pigtail from drooping or being uneven. Grabbing my quick dry craft glue and 100% acrylic yarn wefts that I brushed out off camera, I'm going to just start building the fringe. For Jade's new hair, I'm going to actually be using yarn wefts for the scalp hair, later transitioning into the braiding hair. I did this purely because I haven't tried braiding hair before in creating an entire wig. I wanted the hair to be quite rigidly perfect as well, so I wasn't too keen on experimenting with this style, and you really can't tell the difference later on. I want to go for that classic Jade blunt cut fringe, with blending framing sections that'll give her face some shape. Something I just had to incorporate into this design was those turquoise highlights, but for my design, I thought it would be quite fun to instead make a faux regrowth, similar to that of Gerard Way and Billie Eilish. Celebrity hairstylist Sam McKnight actually did a temporary rendition of this, where he used feathers, placing them on the parts of models' hair and gelling them back into the hair, which I found just so interesting. Once I was happy with how the scalp hair was looking, I'm going to be pulling back both sides into pigtails, and we'll be braiding them with the anchor yarn that we attached earlier. Back to the braiding wefts. I've just cut them and added some glue to the ends to make it easier for application. What I'm going to be doing is what's called a sew-in ponytail. This is a popular hairstyling technique used within Black communities to create beautiful, long, gorgeous ponytails with hair extensions. While I won't be sewing in the wefts, I'm going to be gluing them. The technique basically stays the same from thereafter. Weft by weft, I'm just going to work my way all the way up the pigtail until I get right to the top. For the top of the ponytail, I'm going to just add the smallest amount of blue hair wefts to blend in those two colours. I didn't want the hair to look as if it just had one of those cosplay pigtails just plopped on the side of it, so I thought it would be nice just to blend in those colours. Time to create some clothes. Unfortunately though, for this section of the video, it's going to be quite mishmashed with the footage. During this process, both my camera and my sewing machine broke within the span of a couple of days, so I ended up being quite limited in chronological footage. For my design, I took elements of the original, but created an all-new look that will incorporate faux leather, metal, and a lot of turquoise. Sometimes when you hyper-focus on things, it can bleed into different parts of your life. For instance, I've been playing Red Dead Redemption, and so I didn't even notice it happened, but Jade is now a space cowboy. The design consists of a metallic faux leather vest with a faux leather bodysuit and saddle pants. Using my mum's sewing machine, I'm going to be going over and just turning in all of the pattern pieces to have some nice clean edges. Borrowing from another family member, I got my sister's leather crafting kit and will be creating some eyelets that will span the length of the trousers. To start, I need to make a hole in the trousers with a hole puncher.
Oh no! It went through my desk.
Getting some proper protection this time for my desk, I can start making the eyelets. Silly me didn't put two and two together that camera on desk while hammering on the desk makes the camera shake, so please excuse that. I ran out of eyelets. Let's use some metal hoops for jewelry making instead. Let's try and make some shoes. With some epoxy milliput, I made the soles. I want these shoes to be super chunky, so the platforms need to be nice and thick. The material I'm using for the shoes itself is craft foam that will be attached together with super glue. These shoes definitely don't look as good as I had hoped. I very much freeballed the design when it came to the construction. I think in the future I'm going to try and make these again and replace them on the doll, but for now they will do. Unfortunately, this is the part where my camera died for good, so the shoes go from assembling to fully constructed. Yes, don't look too close at them. I think it's time we assemble the clothes. Moonlight Jewel and Blue Pixie created this amazing custom Bratz body, which I was able to print on my resin printer. Using some thin faux leather I got at Daiso, I was able to whip up this basic leotard that will act as a base for the outfit. A popular technique within the 3D printing hobby is to do a warm water attachment when adding pieces together. This makes it so that, in theory, while the resin is warm, it's more malleable, so you're able to attach pieces together without it snapping. I say it works in theory because I bought some new resin for this project, and as you can see, I've had to makeshift some elbow joints using some wood and reinforcing the lower knee with some metal. Now that we have the body all attached, it's time to assemble the clothes. As well as the trousers, I also created some arm wraps, lacing them with grey leather strips. In theory, this design worked on a standard human, but when executed on a doll, yeah, she can't bend her arms. This is definitely something I didn't expect. I just expected it to be able to bend, but the arms just aren't strong enough. This is definitely something, as well, I need to do again in the future. Maybe having the forearms and biceps as separate pieces, attached by the lacing. I'm not sure, but nonetheless, it looks cool, even if it does make the articulation just non-existent. Before finishing, I gave her hair a trim and her face a finishing gloss with Vallejo gloss varnish. But then, disaster. The neck peg and the right hip shattered when I was reattaching the head. After breaking my camera, my sewing machine, and various joints, this was just such a demoralizing blow. And I'm not gonna lie, I did want to have a cry. I didn't have time to print another, and I mean, the last one took me 3 days. I just didn't have time. So I had to make do with what I had. So what I did was just modify and transfer the clothes onto a Monster High Clio body that was missing its neck peg, which is definitely not ideal, but it's the only thing that I had on hand. A new body means that my shoes that I made no longer fit, so to replace the handmade shoes, I painted up some Monster High boots with some metallic paint. I was quite disappointed about using this body. I think it skews her proportions and makes her look really thin, which isn't really what I was looking for. But hey, I tried my best, and that's all you can ask for of yourself at the end of the day. Last step, of course, is just to add the head to the new body. And with that, I think it's time to show off our new live in concert Jade.